Now, as you may know, an 11th video has come out from the group trying to catch Planned Parenthood abortionists violating the law. And this Planned Parenthood abortionist says in Texas, her name is Amna Dermish, that she admitted to illegal partial birth abortions, according to the video. The Health Inspector General's notice of Planned Parenthood states that the organization's practice of altering the standard care to procure fetal tissue violates accepted medical practices. The doctor said, quote, from Planned Parenthood, my aim is usually to get the specimens out pretty much intact, especially the 20-weekers are a lot harder versus the 18-weekers. She goes on to say that her description of altering the baby's position to pull out feet first, like in a breech method, might be illegal. She talks about the fact that you have to keep the organs intact. Yeah, she'll pull out like kidneys and hearts and things like that. Tony Arnold is with Planned Parenthood, I think, of Cincinnati. Tony Arnold, welcome to the Bill Cunningham Show.
Thank you for having me on, Bill. And it's a pleasure to get a chance to speak on some of these issues. I think generally you kind of spout off a lot of rhetoric, and I don't think you do a lot of fact checking, and you just kind of go for the emotional aspect and the emotional point of view. So it's it's a privilege to be on here, and to be factual. I'm actually a PR director for the Tri-State Freethinkers. I do work with Planned Parenthood, and I am permitted to speak to the media on behalf of them.
So basically, Tony Arnold. So let's go back a little bit. So as far as these procedures, do you think life begins at the moment of conception, or when from 0 to 9 months do you think human life begins?
Okay, well, real quick, just to let you know, I don't represent all non-believers on this issue. Non-believers and believers actually do have a middle ground on this. If you are a Christian and you read your Bible, biblically, abortion is actually supported in the Bible and also in the Talmud. It is. It actually is, and I can give you quotes.
Well, Tony, you're answering a question, but not the one I asked. When do you think human life begins, irrespective of religion? When do you believe human life begins?
I believe, actually, that human life is an accumulation of experiences. I believe that a fetus is actually human life can be. It's human potential. In the Jewish Talmud, they say that life begins after the fetus comes out of the woman's body.
So up until 8.5 months, let's say a week before birth, 8 3/4 months into the process, the baby is completely functional, could be functional outside the womb. You would like to have a society where a woman a week before birth could say, kill my baby, and that's okay with you?
Well, here's the thing.
Yes or no?
Let me answer here. You ask a question, let me answer it. If you're going to talk about pro-life, you're not using the word pro as a positive position on this. What you're doing is you're projecting. You're projecting your vision, your image, your expectations onto the life of a fetus, which is the building block of life. We are not just life. Our life is an accumulation of experience.
So if a 1-year-old has little experiences, you could kill a 1-year-old.
What you're doing is you're placing a higher expectation of that life. You're placing that expectation over the life of a woman who actually has a past, a present, and a future. And to me, that seems to be the more morally reprehensible.
Tony Arnold, stay focused on this. So in your world, Planned Parenthood could commit an abortion on a baby 1 week, 1 hour, 1 minute from birth until the child makes it outside the physicality of the woman. You say the woman can kill that baby.
That's not my position. You asked for the religious position.
Well, what is your position?
Planned Parenthood in Ohio actually will not perform an abortion after 17, I believe it's 17 or 17 and a half weeks. They stand pretty firm on that.
So it's about 4.5 to 5 months.
5
months, because in this video out of Texas, this doctor says, my aim is usually to get the specimens out pretty much intact, especially 20-weekers are a lot harder versus the 18-weekers. So at that point, I'll switch to the breech method of extraction. So in Planned Parenthood of Texas, they're taking out babies at 20 weeks.
Texas, and that situation will be handled. Whether or not it's something that's actually done or if it's just, irrelevant conversation in a workplace, in any work environment. Your conversations can become, weighed down with a rigmarole of daily repetition.
Of killing babies.
And that's some of what you got to see in those videos, with conversations that were, out of context because they were out of repetition. So, that will play out, but we're in Ohio, so what happens in Texas doesn't really affect us in Ohio. And as far as these tapes, Ohio does not offer tissue donation. That's never been an issue in Ohio.
Does Planned Parenthood take? Well, let me ask you this, Tony Arnold. Does Planned Parenthood on Auburn Avenue, do they take money to reimburse for their expenses when they extract tissue from a dead baby? Do they get expenses? Planned Parenthood in Mount Auburn.
In Mount Auburn, they do not do that. In the state of Ohio, Planned Parenthood does not donate fetal tissue. Actually, that was voted out many, many years ago. So that hasn't taken place in the state of Ohio. Actually, I don't think it's ever taken place. That would be an incorrect statement you just made.
Is it the position of Planned Parenthood that human life does not begin until 17 and a half weeks? 18 weeks,
Planned Parenthood
20
doesn't
weeks?
take a position on it. Planned Parenthood provides a medical service that a woman requests. Whether you like it or not, abortion is a part of female reproductive health and medical services. Women sought to end pregnancies before Roe versus Wade, and women are going to seek to do this even after Governor John Kasich, believe it or not. Right now, he's tried to put forth a lot of legislation, and you can look this up. The state of Michigan actually has received about an 18% increase in Planned Parenthood services.
Why is that?
For people in Ohio who are jumping the border and going to Michigan.
Well, that's fine.
So
we should.
This is political. This really isn't.
Of course it is. We ought to decide. The American people, in my view, not Roe versus Wade, which was 7 judges, the American people should decide this issue based upon a vote, and I'm confident that many states would have abortion and many states would not have abortion. That's the way it ought to be. Now, before I let you go, Tony Arnold, I want to talk to you about the founder of Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger, who was a racist and believed in eugenics. She said, among other things, we should apply a stern and rigid policy of sterilization and segregation to that grade of the population whose progeny is tainted. I'm referring to the colored people. The person who founded Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger, was a virulent racist and a eugenics supporter who believed that the black race should be bred out of humankind. Why do you name the organization Planned Parenthood after a virulent racist like Margaret Sanger?
Well, I'll leave your uber zombie Catholic Republican members to do their research on that. But I'm not a Margaret Sanger historian. But the one thing that I can tell you is we need to stop this legislation and we need to stop this repetitive cycle. Today at UC at McMicken Commons from 5 to 7, and that's the reason I'm speaking to you today, we are holding a rally for the Tri-State Freethinkers and Planned Parenthood for people to have their hearing. When we went to the Ohio State House to speak on behalf of Planned Parenthood, it was very limited. They only gave people 90 seconds to speak. So people are going to get their chance to speak today. And what we really need people to do is to contact their representatives and let them know that this type of legislation, this repetitive attack, is unnecessary.
Well, you understand how unpopular this position is. If this thing was on the ballot...
You're wrong. You're incorrect there.
No, I'm not.
A recent poll came out, and it said that 60%, this is a peer research center, Pew Research Center, said that 60% of Americans say that any annual budget should include funding for Planned Parenthood.
No, it didn't.
Listen to me, if you defund Planned Parenthood, you do not defund abortion because abortion is not funded through any government monies right now. If you defund Planned Parenthood, abortion will continue because that's paid for by private donations.
Isn't it clear that Planned Parenthood has sold body parts? Maybe not in Cincinnati, but isn't it clear that Planned Parenthood sells the parts of dead babies for profit? Isn't that true?
No. And if you defund Planned Parenthood, what you actually do is you end funding for comprehensive sex education.
No. It's not about health care. Abortion is not health care at all. Well, what it does is transfer that money to other government agencies or groups that can take care of female health, and abortion is murder, and abortion is not about health care.
Well, if I wanted to talk to a rambling ass who threw a bullhorn, I could do that down to Planned Parenthood. And just because you have bullhorns and you can wrangle a bunch of asses together doesn't make you right. It just makes you a good ass wrangler. So Planned Parenthood does so much beyond the 3 to 4% of abortion.
Well, would you agree then to have Planned Parenthood funding? How about Planned Parenthood having funding for everything except abortion? How about saying Planned Parenthood, to get our public money, should not perform abortions, which is, in many view of the American people, a sin and a crime? How about having Planned Parenthood in existence for everything except abortion? Would you accept that?
Well, maybe you should write some legislation on that. But
I'd be 100% in favor of that. In fact, if that was on the ballot, that would pass by 60%.
Make pregnancies and take control.
We should not fund abortions. I do not want to fund abortions. Tony, I do not want to fund abortions. Tony.
Yes.
Tony, I do not want to fund abortions. The great bulk of the American people say don't fund abortions. And that's what we say. Have all the health care that you want, but abortion is not health care.
You currently do not fund abortions. By defunding Planned Parenthood, you defund many programs that are needed. Planned Parenthood sees roughly 20,000 people, I believe, in the Clifton area alone. And by defunding Planned Parenthood, what you are doing is you are taking those services and spreading them out to the community where there's nowhere for these people to go.
Sure there is. There's city health clinics. Yeah, no.
Planned Parenthood, people are going to dentists to get shots and to get treatment for stuff that has nothing to do with...
This has nothing to do with women's health care. Has many mechanisms for poor women to get health care. Planned Parenthood is an abortion mill that gathers hundreds of millions of dollars from the American taxpayer that also makes a profit every year of north of $100 million. Most of the American people agree with me. Do not fund any part or any organization that commits abortions and using my dollars to kill babies. I believe life begins at conception.
60% of Americans don't agree with you, Bill.
No, I disagree.
It's a good rant, but it's factually incorrect.
Well, you're the ass with the rant and the godless heathen. It's not me.
Well, that's not the first time.
You're a godless heathen. Tony Arnold, you are a godless heathen and a baby killer. That's what you are.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. But keep in mind that when you defund Planned Parenthood, you do nothing to defund abortion because this is paid for.
Don't do it. Don't do abortions.
And by the people who are there. What you're actually doing is you are hurting women's health care by taking away services. Let me throw one more.
Health care is not abortion. I think help women's health care, yes. Abortion, no. You are a godless heathen and a loudmouth.
Let me tell you something here, Bill. The state of Ohio currently ranks 46 among states for infant mortality. 46. By defunding...
Then quit killing babies in Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood kills babies. Quit killing babies. Quit killing babies.
That is the program that Planned Parenthood... That the people in Cincinnati need. You end breast and cervical cancer screenings that are done on site at Planned Parenthood. You know what it takes to schedule one of these through another healthcare provider. And at Planned Parenthood, if a pap comes back abnormal, they immediately do a cervical biopsy on site. No other facility can do this. You really need to check your stats, check your facts, and reevaluate before you just rant on these crazy...
Tony, you are what you criticize. Tony Arnold, you are a godless heathen and a baby killer.
And then that's real productive, and that's really helping this conversation.
Goodbye.